Go ahead and begin. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please. Roll call.
Councilmember Drexler.
Here.
Councilmember Briano.
Here.
Councilmember Morrow.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sharp.
Aye.
And Mayor Ramirez.
Here. Trying to do something differently, huh? And we have invocation by Auntie Stafford, I believe. Welcome. Please rise.
Lord, I thank you so much for tonight, and I thank you for this group that is met here tonight. God, I pray a special blessing upon each and every person in this room, and God, I pray that you would just meet every single need that they may have. Lord, I pray tonight as our city officials meet together and talk and discuss things, Father, I pray that you would lead them and guide them, Father, that they would follow what your will is, Lord, and do what is best for our city. God, I pray that each member of our community, Father, will just know that you love them and that you care for them, Father. And I pray that as our council members here tonight go about business, Father, that the business that they take care of will be all within your will. Lord, I thank you for them each. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Vice Mayor Sharp, would you please do the honors of last week?
Join me. Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Ty, any closed session action reports?
Thank you, Mayor. No actions taken.
Awesome, thank you. We're going to go ahead and do recognition. It's going to be National Day of Prayer Proclamation. Do we have Kevin here? Kevin, if you want to stand up here and to the podium, I'm going to go ahead and give you the proclamation. The City of Hanford Proclamation, National Day of Prayer. Whereas the freedom to exercise our faith is one of the greatest rights, and May 6, 2021 has been officially designated as National Day of Prayer. And whereas the power of prayer is needed more than ever for the achievement of the American goal of peace with justice for all people of the world. And whereas Americans come together in churches, temples, synagogues, and other places of worship to pray for peace, for wisdom, and guidance in their lives and in the lives of their loved ones. And whereas a community, it is fitting we gather together in the day of prayer and ask God for guidance, and to remember that a day of prayer is not a solemn day, but a day of enjoyment, a day of reward, and a day of hope. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor, Francisco Ramirez, do hereby proclaim May 6, 2021 as National Day of Prayer in the City of Hanford, and urge all citizens to join together in prayer, and that is in the spirit of trust, cooperation, and goodwill, that we may bestow for God strength and wisdom to make our community even a better place to live. Presented this day, the 16th of March, 2021. Thank you. Let me go ahead and put my mask on before I give it to you.
Thank you.
And if you would like to say any comments after that, please do. Thank you very much.
Just on behalf of the Kings County Prayer Force, we appreciate your guys' support during this, and we look forward to praying together once again.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Question, what day was that on? May the 21st?
May 6th, Thursday, May 6th.
May 6th.
Thank you.
All right. Staff communication.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. For those of you that didn't have the opportunity to watch or listen to the county board live stream today, unfortunately, we had an increase in the number of COVID cases that are attributable from public health to the 3-day President's Day weekend. We're currently at 11.1 cases per 100,000. Our positivity rate remained constant at 4.3%, and our healthy metrics increased from 3.3 last week to 6.9%. So unfortunately, that means we are not able to continue on the accelerated rate into the lower tier But overall, the numbers are dropping as they are with most of the state, so we should hopefully get to the red tier the next couple of weeks here. I was able to have a call today with a federal lobbyist that I know regarding a couple of funding opportunities at the federal level. The first one was to get some initial guidance on the funding that the city of Hanford will be receiving from the American Rescue Plan. The most recent figures that were shared by the League of California Cities will be about $13.7 million to the city of Hanford. That funding will be provided in what they call tranches, two separate payments that will come directly to each community. The difference in this funding is the previous CARES funding that we received was funneled through the state to the city. This money will come directly from the federal treasury to the city of Hanford. 50% of the allocation will be provided within 60 days of the president signing the bill, and then the remaining 50% of the allocation will be provided 12 months after the first tranche. The conditions on the use of funding are no more economic development, but the ability to invest in infrastructure. The use of the funds specifically state that a city, an entitlement city such as ours, we have the ability to respond to the public health emergency with respect to Corona. We can use it to provide government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue, which means basically we can make up lost revenue that we did not receive because of COVID, or to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. In addition to that, there's an additional $10 billion in the bill for broadband infrastructure to communities. So it would be it's highly unlikely that some of the cities will use that money for broadband infrastructure, their own allocation, given the large amount that's out there for specifically for broadband. I wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow is the monthly Mayor's Business Roundtable that is put on by the Hanford Chamber. We will be doing that on a Zoom, and then they also do Facebook Live. This month's meeting will focus on zoning within the city and cover at a minimum what is the purpose of zoning, how it affects small businesses versus big box stores, and how the two play into our economic development, and how a community member can relay concerns or issues on the subject to the city for feedback. Lastly, from a couple of staff perspectives, I wanted to report that Parks and Community Services will be holding another park beautification this Friday at Hidden Valley Park, doing the entrance much like they did for Centennial. And then also Friday, April 9th will be an Arbor Day celebration here in the Civic Park. That will be a joint meeting that will be noticed for the Hanford City Council and the Parks and Rec Commission to recognize the planting of the new Christmas tree for the city of Hanford. And the police department conducted interviews last week and made an appointment to the assignment of the Parks Resource Officer. Officer Burciaga is happy to be getting that position, and they'll work on that. You've got an item on the consent calendar tonight related to that. Officer Burciaga has been with the city of Hanford for 2 to 3 years now, and prior to that was with the city of Delano for 7 years.
Fantastic. Thank you. Council reports or comments? Vice President Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 8th, I attended a Zoomed CART Transit Subcommittee meeting about the new item that's going over, or the new project that is going over on 7th Street and Harris, roughly. There was talk about wanting to gather historical photos and recognizing what had happened there in the past, as far as maybe in how some of the conference space is themed. And they're also still looking for tenants, so if anybody's looking for downtown office space, Angie over at CART would probably wrestle Mario for you for that. On the 9th, I attended the Mid-Kings GSA, and although it's great we just got this rain, we're in a very tight water year, and so that'll continue to play out all year, and you'll continue to hear about it. Hopefully, maybe, who knows, we'll get an amazing April and get back to normal. That would be great. On the 10th, it was really fun to participate in a tour that I was just tagging along, so Councilmember Mora was on it, so she'll probably speak about it. Later in the day, participated in some regional advocacy calls on transportation issues, and there was a group of local from sort of probably Stockton down to Bakersfield, different electeds, and we spoke with Adam Gray and Rudy Salas on transportation issues, and then very pleased to be able to have a good time and get to know some more of my fellow City of Hanford employees, the ones that really matter, and at the employee lunch on the 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kalish.
So I was also able to make it over to the employee appreciation luncheon. I thought it was a good turnout, and it was cool getting to hang out with everybody and chat on a more unofficial level, just sit there and break bread together. We did the tour of Public Works, the wells and tanks and the wastewater treatment, which was my favorite because we got caught out in a hailstorm. the walk back seemed way longer than the walk out there. But it was a lot of great information. I appreciate John Doyle for taking us out and the staff that filled in some of the gaps in our knowledge that we've had, because this is definitely not my expertise. So, but thank you for that. That's it.
All right. Brianna.
I just wanted to reemphasize the National Prayer Day.
National Day Prayer.
Years ago, I remember one of the speakers here in the auditorium was Chief Dreyer, who's the mayor now, and very inspirational talk that he gave. And I don't know what they're going to do this year, but it's a great reminder of the First Amendment, as you said in that proclamation: freedom, speech, of gathering, of religion. And what are we finding? More and more we're taking away from that, and it's just something to be mindful about. Our Constitution and the words we place above us here, that we need to be civil, and we need to also remember that individual and the rights that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman John.
So yes, I got an opportunity to go to or Zoom to the Homeless Coalition meeting, and things are starting to wrap up a little bit. There's a transition from going from home key to room key, or maybe it's the other way around. Yeah, it's room key to home key. Kings County's done a real good job of trying to place those homeless instead of letting them go out. I mean, they're still struggling with some because there is a shortage of places or units, apartments, homes available for lease for the homeless or them transitioning out of homeless. There's still a need for that, and so they're struggling with that, but there's things they're looking around the corner there. That room key, they got, I think they said 2 of the rooms done with ADA, and they're gonna bring some pictures, and so everyone's excited to see that transition. At least we got some state dollars out of that, rather than our local money spending that to fix that up. So that's good. We'll see how that works, and I think that's gonna be a good addition to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I also attended the employee appreciation lunch. It was fantastic. I just want to say thank you to all employees for your service that you do each and every day for us. It's showing, and I could sentiment to my colleagues is that, if it wasn't for you, we couldn't be where we're at today. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. And that's about all I have to report. I'm going to go ahead and go on to council comments. This time is for the citizens to comment on any subject matter not on the agenda, but that is within the jurisdiction of the Hanford City Council. This is also the public's opportunity to request an item from the consent calendar to be pulled for discussion purposes or to comment on any item on the agenda. Comments related to public hearing item will be heard at the time that the item is discussed. A maximum of 3 minutes is allowed for each speaker. Please begin your comments by stating your name and providing your city of residence. Anybody for public comment? Come up to the podium. Bob Reynolds.
Good evening, I'm Bob Ramos. I live here in the city,
And consent calendar, E, which is finance quarterly report and monthly investment transaction report. And I'm looking at your packet on page, let me get it on my phone here. Starts at 15.E.A. And there was some money transferred from another account into the LAIF. It shows the deposits of several $million there. But then I look at another page, and which is on 15.E.A, and it says here that on February 2nd, February 12th, there was 2 withdrawals, one for $1 million and another one for $1.5 million. And I was wondering where the money went. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I couldn't find any trail as to where that money went, and maybe that can be explained explained as to the reason. Thank you very much.
We'll go ahead and pull item E. Anybody else want to speak at the podium? All right. Hey, Mark.
I want to speak about the park resource officer, and I'm only going off what I've heard in the council regarding this. You know, perhaps it needs to be studied, but I regard it as a waste of money. You're pushing over probably $120,000 in salaries and the pickup truck. I understand the officer comes from the police department, so I assume he wouldn't be without a job if you didn't go ahead with this. But this is budget building, and it's not necessary now. We're in a very hard time financially, even with the money that City Manager Cifuentes and we have a lot of needs in our parks for actual park maintenance, preservation, expansion, and I just regard it as a waste of money. You know, I'm open to the idea that we could study it. You know, maybe I'm missing something, but it's an awful lot of money, and you know, who knows, next time there'll be another request for another officer. You know, I just don't think it's appropriate at this time. Thank you.
Oh, Mark, did you want to pull item B?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and go to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on any of these matters unless a request is made, and then the item will be removed from the consent calendar and to be discussed and voted upon in a separate motion. Council, do I have any, do you want to pull any from the consent calendar?
I'd like to do item D.
Item D, okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept item A and C.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
The prompt should be up on your screen.
All right. Let the record reflect 5-0. And Parker, I guess that would be you, item B.
Hello, Mayor and fellow council members. What we have before you today is the purchase of a new vehicle for the Park Resource Officer, which was previously allotted by the City Council. Originally, we had looked at using an existing vehicle in the city, but by the time we outfitted it to the tune of over $20,000, it didn't seem to make much sense to put that on a very old vehicle that wouldn't probably last very long. And also, it really wasn't suited for the need. It didn't have a place for a prisoner in the back and things of that nature. So on February 2nd, 2021, Council approved the creation of the Parks Resource Officer assignment within the Hanford Police Department. As part of that proposal, it was agreed that the position would be funded 50% by the Parks Department, 50% by the Police Department, through the elimination of one of the allocated maintenance worker positions. At the time the concept of park ranger proposed, staff envisioned using that existing vehicle. Given that the Parks Resource Officer will have arresting authority, they'll need a vehicle that is pursuit rated and can haul individuals. When the Hart Division currently drives the F-150s, Dodge now makes a special service vehicles that meets that requirement as well. Although we would have preferred to get another Ford just for continuity of the fleet, the Fords were no longer available because they're changing the model, and so they won't be available until the next model year. With the additional officer assigned to the Parks Resource Officer position, the need has arisen to add to that fleet. And so what we're proposing purchasing is a 2021 Dodge Ram Crew Cab SSV pickup. All in with all the outfitting and everything is $62,408. The vehicle will be specially marked for the Parks Resource Officer, and it will also be clearly identified as a Hanford Police Department vehicle. And what we recommend is the City Council by motion approve the purchase of the new Dodge Ram Crew Cab SSV truck and the equipment in the amount of $62,408. Do you have any questions?
Council, any questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Real quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
I was talking to Brad, and there's gonna be a possibility of community, looking at how you're gonna design it.
Yes, so because this was more of a community-oriented position, and it was to me a very highly visible position, we thought of a way to do something that might be kind of fun. And so what we're proposing is a contest for the kids in our community to actually draw
Awesome.
What they think the vehicle should look like, and then the winning contestant, we would render that into graphics that will go on the vehicle. That's probably also a good way for us to highlight that position to the public and let them know that it's coming.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Francisco, I remember that we brought that idea back. Being once up in the Tascadero, seeing a pickup with a park ranger, and the fact was it was on a Sunday, and he was just running through and checking things. And you know, most of our problems in our parks occur on weekends, and it's always difficult trying to get an officer out there. Cars parked on there, alcohol, and a lot of other problems. So it's been given a lot of thought, and I think that we're addressing an issue that has been evolving, and I think that the concept of community participation has been something that has really given credit to this idea. Thank you.
Yeah, and Officer Burciaga is super excited for the new position, and I think you'll see some really good things out of him. He's a really good officer. We're excited that he put in for it.
So when would this come online, Parker?
So we are looking at starting on the next pay period, which is the 22nd.
Okay.
And the vehicle won't be here for about 90 days, but he'll be using his current patrol car that he drives.
Sounds great. Thank you.
I got a comment just before, and I support everything about the project. I think it's going to be a great asset to our community. I think we need to do a better job of understanding what it's going to cost us down the line, because we approved the park resource officer, and then 2 months later we got to approve a $62,000 truck, and we were told we were going to use the car. So we need to do a better job of thinking about what we're going to do and understanding that. I know things happen.
Yeah.
But you understand that puts us in a tough bind too.
Yeah, we knew that we were going to have to pay for outfitting an existing vehicle. Just looking into it, we thought it might be better to actually put it onto a new vehicle, because that vehicle, even if we didn't continue with the park resource officer position, we could easily roll it back into the PD and eliminate another vehicle that we were going to have to purchase.
No, I totally support it, and I think it's a good decision, but we need to make sure we think it through a little bit further so we can have that decision at the time we approve the officer rather than later.
Sounds good.
It looks much better when we do it that way, so thank you.
Any further discussion? I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve for the pickup?
I'll second it.
Second, Madam Clerk. All right. Let the record reflect a 5-0 vote on item B. Congratulations, Parker. We're gonna go ahead and go to item D, Public Works. John.
Members of the council, this is the approval of a final map and subdivision agreement for tract number 927, which is the corner of 13th Avenue and Grangeville. and the annexation of that property into the assessment district for tracks 887, Unit 1, 887, Unit 2, and I believe, track 922. We're asking the council to approve the final subdivision agreement and then adopt the resolution annexing those properties into the assessment district. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council questions? How much area are we annexing? Is it?
I want to say that the subdivision is approximately, I want to say it's about 13 acres, right, Alex?
I want to say 25.
25 acres, I'm sorry, 25 acres at the corner. It's all the land that's left surrounding from south of the Frontier Elementary School, 13th Avenue, Grangeville, and then that house that's next to our tank site. That whole space is being annexed in.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we accept this item.
Do I have a second? Madam Clerk? Motion approved
Thank you very
5-0.
much.
I actually hit the second. Okay, thank you. Eric, item F.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I think the question is why are we moving money in and out of local agency investment fund? We came to you last year, we talked about how the city has traditionally kept a large cash balance in its Wells Fargo account. And one of the things that we have changed is that we are keeping that balance much lower and putting that money with local agency investment fund. And so when we have cash flow needs, we may be withdrawing or depositing money in there as we keep that money working. Local agency investment funds earning about 40 basis points, 100 basis points equals 1%. Wells Fargo was paying us a whopping 1 basis point, 1/100th of 1%. So it's really just a cash flow need, and that's why you see some of those transactions occur.
Council questions?
Looks good.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk? Bob, what was your question?
It had to do with the withdrawals, where that money went.
Eric, can you elaborate on that, please?
I understood the rest of it.
Because we're keeping the cash balances lower there, that money will come in to pay for payroll, whatever monies that we have going out that week. So what we'll do is we'll not fund the payroll or the APs until we're sending out the checks. And so that's what you're seeing is that money was used in the normal course of the city's operations.
Which was originally part of that 17 million.
Right. So, instead of having the 17 million there and it go up and down, we now have the 17 million late, but it does cause us to have to withdraw money and put it in there. And that's why you're seeing those investment transactions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Still didn't work.
We're missing John's vote.
We're missing your vote, John. There you go. Motion, 5-0 vote. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to a public hearing. Public hearing, adoption of resolution 21-10R, initializing of landscape assessment district proceedings, and 21-11R, intention to levy assessments and confirmation of engineering report for landscape assessment district 21-R, location of south corner of Centennial Drive and west of, what's that word? Okay, with that street, set forth May 4th, 2021 as the public hearing date. And we're gonna go ahead and open this up for a public hearing. Staff report, John.
Members of council. Developer of track 928 is San Joaquin Valley Homes. This is a subdivision that is north of the subdivision we just discussed. It's on the north side of Devon and Sangiovese along 13th Avenue frontage. Part of the process they have to do is they have to create a landscape assessment district. This district was not able to be annexed into another district, so we had to create a new one for this. So it includes the maintenance of the decorative block wall along Fargo, Centennial, Sangiovese, and Napa. There's a park located at the corner of Sangiovese and Barbera, and it includes all the interior street lighting within Track 928. The Landscape and Lighting Act requires you hold a public hearing before you create a district. And so we're asking the council to adopt the two resolutions, 20-10R and 20-11R, which will initiate the proceedings for the creation of the district and notice the intention to levy assessments and confirmation of the engineer's report and set May 4th, 2021 as the public hearing date. Probably have to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions?
New development, correct? This is new development.
New development, yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public for public comment portion. Anybody would like to speak on this? You have that opportunity for public comment. Please step to the podium. This is going to be for in favor first. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief. Alex Wiggins, Zone Walt Hanson Associates. We represent the developer. John's explanation was rather short. This is a pretty standard thing for the subdivisions. Keeps the cash rolling in to maintain everything. I'm here to answer any questions if you might have them. If not, I ask for you to approve so we can come back on May the 4th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else in favor? Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and anybody opposed to this? Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and bring it back to council. Council's wishes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Madam Clerk, roll call. Vote, please. Let the record reflect 5-0 vote. Thanks, John. We're going to close out the public hearing portion. Okay, John, I'll let you read that one. Back to you.
Actually, it's kind of like Gabby take it.
Okay, it's Gabby. Okay, take it like
I'm
Gabby.
here to assist this time.
Thank you, Mayor Ramirez and council members, and thanks, John, for letting me take this one. Under the California Environmental Quality Act, public agencies must analyze must analyze development transportation projects and determine whether they have a significant impact on the environment or not. One key determination under CEQA is the transportation impact of projects. Traditionally, transportation impacts have been evaluated by examining whether the project is likely to cause automobile delay at intersections. This is known as level of service analysis. Senate Bill 743 was signed into law in 2013 and initiated an update to CEQA guidelines, which changed how lead agencies are required to evaluate transportation impacts. As of July 1st, 2020, agencies analyzing the transportation impacts of new projects must now look at vehicles miles traveled rather than LOS, or level of service. VMT measures how much actual auto travel a proposed project would create. If the project adds excessive car travel onto roads, the project may cause a significant transportation impact. That shift from level of service to vehicles miles traveled has caused concern for developers. Developers have voiced concerns that if projects use this VMT metric and are located in an outlying area, there could be significant effects which could trigger the need for an EIR, or environmental impact report, which can create significant cost and substantial time to process. In order to avoid the necessity of having developers prepare their own VMT analysis on a project-by-project basis, staff is requesting that the City Council, by motion, authorize that the City Manager execute an agreement with VPRA Technologies for the preparation of 1, an analysis of the general plan EIR to determine the VMT implications of the general plan in order to streamline VMT analysis for projects which are consistent with the general plan. And 2, for the preparation of a guidance document for VMT analysis for individual projects which are either inconsistent with or proposing amendments to the general plan. VPRA was the city's traffic study consultant for the general plan update in 2017. VPRA has prepared a scope of work intending to develop a VMT analysis for the city to comply with the new CEQA requirement without causing undue disruption in the processing of land development projects and roadway improvements. The city is tasking the consultant with analyzing VMT for the general plan to determine whether implementation of the general plan will result in significant traffic impacts. If there is not an impact, all projects which are consistent with the general plan can be screened out of requiring additional VMT analysis. If there is an impact that cannot be mitigated through the city's current VMT reduction policies, the city may issue a statement of overriding considerations, which will then allow projects that are consistent with the general plan to be tier off of the general plan EIR and avoid preparing their own VMT analysis. Current VMT reduction policies already enacted by the city include development of sidewalks, promotion of multimodal transportation, encouragement of van pools, consultation with CART on all projects requiring an initial study, and other efforts that increase walkability and bicycle riding opportunities. Just to highlight, the evaluation of VMT analysis is necessary to ensure that all environmental documents are compliant with CEQA guidelines, and the anticipated benefit of conducting this analysis is to alleviate developers' concern regarding significant traffic impacts and reduce or remove the requirement to prepare an EIR, which will promote a business-friendly environment and remove impediments to development. This project was cited as a proposed activity in the LEAP grant that the city applied to for, to HCD. The LEAP grant has not been approved yet, however, the city is able to utilize LEAP funding for reimbursement. The project is an eligible LEAP activity as it can be related to housing planning and the streamlining and acceleration of housing production. And with that, I would just pass it on to John if he has anything to add or invite any questions from council.
The idea on this was just to simplify it for the developers. Currently we had a project that came in, they had to do a VMT analysis, Caltrans evaluated it, asked for additional information. We feel like as a city, we already have a pedestrian and bicycle master plan. We already involve CART. They typically have a stop every half mile, even in new development areas. We already provide sidewalks. We have parks in all the neighborhoods now. And so we've provided all these amenities that should reduce the need for people to drive as far. In addition, the general plan has a lot more neighborhood commercial in the residential areas. And so the feeling from staff is if we do this analysis and can show that the city as a whole has done enough to meet the VMT mitigations, that we should be able to do this process, thereby allowing developers to not have to do it every time. And so it's not a huge expense, it's another step in the process that makes it more cumbersome for the developers. When in reality, if we do this one time, we can kind of say we do enough stuff as a city to handle this and take care of it now. And then it only affects the people who are doing something different than what the general plan guidelines already say. So that was kind of the idea behind it, was to really make it more streamlined for the developers and for housing projects and for all projects that are currently within the general plan guidelines. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Council questions?
I just want to commend staff. I think this is great and excellent expenditure. Plus, we can get reimbursed for it, so it's my favorite kind. And if anybody, barring any other comments, I would move for approval.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a question. You know, like right now, certain type of businesses, they have an impact for traffic. How does this affect that?
So they still have to do a traffic study, and we can still utilize the level of service guidelines to request improvements, but it doesn't meet CEQA guidelines. So we can still utilize the level of service to determine when and if traffic signals, road widenings, things like that are impacts to the project. But most of those things are already within our transportation impact fee program. So the developer will just pay their transportation impact fees, and that will mitigate those level of service. And so this is just sheerly a process to meet CEQA guidelines so that developers don't have to do additional work. Does that make sense?
Any further comments? Seeing none, there's a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk? And it's the motion approved, 5-0 vote, and I just want to say thank you guys for getting this stuff done. Appreciate it. Okay, it's you, John, again, Public Works.
Thank you very much. I don't get an opportunity to do this very often, but I'm going to take this opportunity to highlight a project and really honor my staff. The Eastside Sanitary project, which is before you tonight for a notice of completion, was the single largest project that the city has done, except for like a wastewater treatment plant expansion. It was a huge project, and so I've actually invited my team to come out tonight. There's Lisa Dock. Why don't you go ahead and stand up, Lisa? Come on up to the podium. Steve Cooney, and then Jennifer Manier, project manager. Jennifer's been with us the shortest amount of time, but she's made a huge impact. She's a project manager, came to us with project management experience, and really took the teeth of this project and jumped in. And actually, we took over the responsibility of project managing and inspection from the consultant because we did a better job. And so we actually reduced their contract and leaned them out and took over because these guys are doing such a great job. Floyd Johnston was the contractor, Blair Church-Flynn was the design engineer, and of course, like I mentioned, Lisa is the engineering manager. She handled a lot of the higher level engineering decisions. Steve was our construction inspector out in the field every day checking on the contractor, and Jennifer managed the project for us. So the trunk main is, like I said, it's one of the largest projects we've done outside of a wastewater treatment project expansion. They installed 3.5 miles of pipe ranging everywhere from 12 inches to 36 inches in diameter. The trenches were deep. They were 18 to 24 feet deep. There were 4 locations where we had jacking bores. We had a jacking bore of 2 railroads, the highway, and lakeside irrigation ditch. There were 49 new manholes. We reconstructed the junction box at the treatment plant to include the new expansion. We had to deal with, on the lakeside ditch, we also included on 9th Avenue and the lakeside ditch, which is approximately here. We also worked with the county and lakeside to relay those conduits under the road, relayed the piping, the culverts, put new culverts in, repaved the road. And then in all of it, you got about 3.5 miles of brand new road. Well, the county got 3.5 miles of brand new road. We'll get it eventually. But in this project, because of the construction and the sand and the material underground, they were wide trenches, so we basically had to reconstruct. It was coordinated with all the local businesses and residents out there. I literally had 1 complaint on the entire project.
Wow.
1.
Wow.
That's unheard of. Now, you're not in front of a lot of businesses and stuff, but still, you're bothering people. You have dirt in their driveways. They can't get access to their houses. It's a nightmare. And so for 3.5 miles, we had 1 complaint. And the traffic control was just a nightmare. We had to close down roads, we had to detour people for months. It was a huge, huge undertaking. Here's some pictures of the project. This is laying the pipeline on the left-hand side. You can see that trench is super deep. And then you have some construction of manholes down here. You can see the guys are pretty short compared to what they're digging a hole in. And then this is the jack and bore project, probably at the highway, I would imagine. So there's a jack and board pit. They're jacking this pipe under the freeway so they can lay the pipe within that casing. And of course, like I said, we got brand new roads out of it out there. So if you drive 9th Avenue and Houston Avenue out there, it drives really, really smooth now. And then, of course, we rehabilitated all of our structures, and so all the manholes have coating inside of them, so it'll increase the longevity of the manholes. It won't create as much hydrogen sulfide gas and deteriorate as well as quickly, so we rehabilitated all our structures as well as the junction structure at the plant. There were 11 change orders, and as you can see, half of them were deductions and half of them were increases. So on a $9.7 million project, we had $90,000 in change orders. Yeah, less than 1%. That's unheard of. And so I think it's just commendable to my staff. They really held the contractor to toe, made sure they were handling their job effectively, dealing with the customers. When they would want to do things that weren't quite right, we would make sure that they didn't do that. And so it's a testament to the staff that oversaw this project, that we came in under budget and out of our contingency, and that they were able to get done so efficiently. So we're asking the council tonight to approve the notice of completion for the project, and I just want to make sure the council gets a chance to recognize the staff who did a pretty amazing job in my mind.
Great.
Okay, council, any further discussion?
We'll have good flow.
Yeah, you got good flow. Steve made sure it goes downhill.
The thing ends just past the railroad?
Yeah, we actually went up 9th Avenue, beyond Lacey Boulevard, and then actually under the Union Pacific Railroad, so that development as it begins on the east side of town will not have to deal with that jack and bore under the UP. That was about a $1 million increase to the project, but we felt like if we did it now, then it would make the developer's connection a lot easier, and you would have a developer probably want to take the project on a lot more if they didn't have to deal with these railroads. So
It's really great.
now it's really good. And on top of all that, again, this is a $3 million EDA grant that Jennifer's about finishing up getting our payout on. So she's been staying up with the EDA compliance regulations, and so we expect to be able to finalize that this week and be able to get our $3 million back pretty soon. So there's no money in our wastewater accounts. Just in case anybody's asking, it's pretty empty. The till's empty right now, but we'll be better in a few months.
We sure appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Really exciting. I never knew I could be so excited about it. I know. like that.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk. Motion passes 5-0, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
And Mario. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, bringing to you tonight the summary of the council goals and objectives from the February 19th goals and objectives session. Just want to do a recap. This is some of the stuff for those that weren't in the audience here, that weren't in attendance that day. We started the day with the purpose of goal setting. We gave some background on the 2021 goals and objectives, where we were, with the purpose of the goal setting specifically for that day to provide guidance and direction to staff, facilitate planning, to motivate and inspire employees and guide the organization in evaluating and controlling progress and performance throughout the year. We obviously had some challenges this fiscal year. We still are benefiting from a strong local economy, and we made significant progress on several long-standing council concerns this last year, specifically the courthouse review, which we'll be bringing back to council in May in the same fiscal year. We went through the Prop 68 funding, which has long been a goal of council, and I'm proud to say that Brad Alrich submitted our final application last Friday to the state. We approved the food truck ordinance, and we've had the mayor's roundtable discussion on that. We've got Parks and Community Services putting together a food truck night, and getting a lot of excitement about that. We just recently did a downtown study session for council. It allows council to give some general direction to council or to staff. And then we've had a lot of items come to council, specifically from the finance side, and on the policy side with regards to transparency and open government. For 2021, our goals were the park master plan, alignment of park decisions, review of city-owned properties, keeping citizens informed, providing the best possible services and enforcements, and efficient and effective customer service. After one-on-one session between the council members and directors, we were able to come back together Council was able to go over each of those goals and objectives and decide whether they wanted to keep them. Ultimately, Council felt that they were all very effective goals, and they did some minor amendments. So the 5 goals that are contained in the summary that Mr. Carasosa put forth are similar, but these are the actual language for it. Review the park master plan to enhance the role of parks in improving the quality of life for the citizens of Hanford. Periodic review of a property management plan to ensure better allocation of resources. That citizens be kept informed through a multifaceted system of public communications, which we will start to work on this fiscal year through a series of surveys for the public to gauge how to start, first and foremost, how they'd like to receive the communication that they get. Item 4 was to provide the best possible services and enforcements to preserve health and safety. And a lot of that focused on the great efforts that the HEART team has been doing with the homeless and finding a balance between public facilities and the safety of our citizens and how we can best utilize those dollars to make that happen for the community. And lastly was that all parties shall experience positive, efficient, and effective customer service. We've seen, I mentioned that from the city management side, we received only 1 complaint from citizens through our online system this year. I think specifically in our engineering, the refuse service, and our community development department, we've seen a big shift this year towards more customer service, towards trying to take a broader approach and view of things and put that forth. And we've received a lot of positive feedback over the years. So Council agreed that we would carry those goals forward with these minor modifications. As part of that process, there was also what they called the good of the order kind of roundtable, where each council member got to put forth several items that they like to see us carry forth into this next fiscal year. I broke those down into topics to the left. So from a strategic planning side, a couple of the council members thought we should work on trying to enhance the nightlife in the community more closely with like a strategic plan. And then also take a look at our building maintenance, how we fund it, how we set aside those reserves, and how we can look at funding or taking a strategic approach to funding those improvements for all of our city buildings. One of the things that was brought up was equity, and I think that one specifically was related to a comment that Vice Mayor Diane Sharp said. I think I'm looking at the goals and objectives summary, and it said update policy and agreements for equitable application of taxes. But that specific discussion centered more on taxes and fees that are paid by businesses and making sure that whatever we're collecting is in line regardless of the type of use, and that we are, as the organization, are doing a good job of collecting those from all people that provide those same businesses and services in the community, so that we're not placing an undue burden upon those that are doing a good job in remitting those sales taxes and fees to the city. We talked about the financial stability, establishing appropriate reserves in all of our funds, are not only our emergency reserves, which council has set at a specific level, but more importantly, our workers' comp funds, our computer replacement, vehicle replacement, coming together with a good methodology that can help us establish appropriate reserves for those things. Council across the board wanted to see us take a look at zoning and to look at more mixed use and the appropriateness of the existing zoning that we have within the city. Public safety was a big one, as always. We talked about the use of both public and private areas to install cameras. There was some discussion that we will pursue about partnering with private businesses to gain access to their cameras and maybe be able to do that through some funding on the part of the city. And then restoring relationships with the schools, primarily for park and recreation, but also with NAS and more, because they really are such a large part of our community. And then, based on what the facilitator, Stan Carasosa, did, we came up with a proposal tonight that's included by resolution if council chooses to do that, for an adoption of professional standards for council. And as Mr. Carasosa did last year, he followed it up this year with the general roles and responsibilities of council members. And we'll go through these, but he said, basically when you look at standards, you should have standards that govern the individual council member, council as a governing body, and then go over the job of council as a whole body. And so these are those items that are laid out in the proposed resolution. But an individual council member keeps ongoing oversight of the goals and objectives, values for all citizens throughout the community, recognizes and respects differences of perspective, acts with dignity, keeps confidential matters confidential, participates in professional development, understands the distinction between staff and council roles, and understands that the authority rests with council as a whole and not with individuals. That goes and transfers into the next level when you talk about the governing body, which is to keep the city focused on quality of living for all Hanford citizens, communicate a common vision of council, operate openly, govern in a dignified and professional manner, govern with city-adopted policies, codes, ordinances, and procedures, takes collective responsibility for council's performance, periodically evaluates its own effectiveness, and ensures opportunities for a diverse range of views in the community. And those roles combine to equate to what is seen as the council job in those professional standards. And that is to involve the community and staff in striving towards a common vision, to adopt, evaluate, and update policies and ordinances as necessary, maintain accountability by adopting annual goals and monitoring progress through measurable objectives, hire and support myself, and so that the vision, goals, and policies of the city can be implemented, conduct regular and timely evaluations of myself based on the goals and performance of the city, and to ensure that I hold the city personnel accountable, adopt a fiscally responsible budget based on the city's visions and goals, and regularly monitor the fiscal health of the city. That's another one that I think through the item that Mr. Ramos had concerns for, that Mr. Frost is able to make some changes there and bring more accountability and transparency. It's only been the last couple of months that we've implemented those quarterly reports and the monthly reports, but that's part of that, so that the community can also take part in that fiscal health and monitoring for the city. Ensure a safe and healthy, appropriate public environment, establish a framework for the collective bargaining process, and adopt responsible agreements with our labor groups, and provide community leadership on city issues and advocate on behalf of all citizens. So with that was kind of a brief overview of what was a really good summary that Mr. Carasosa provided. In addition to that, he also provided specific forms and guidelines that we as staff will use in the development of this next fiscal year's budget, where we take these goals and implement those into measurable objectives and bring back the management by objectives as part of the budget, so that council can use those to gauge the progress of staff throughout the year. So with that, I'll accept any questions or accept it, and I included the recommended motion there of council.
Staff questions, comments? Council's questions, comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Madam Clerk. Let the record reflect a 5-0 vote, and I want to say thank you, Mario, and I want to say thank you to the staff, because the one-on-one really helped us really, that synergy was there where we can consolidate what we really wanted to do. So kudos to the staff and kudos to you, Mario.
Thank you.
Getting that done.
You did good.
Diane.
I'd also like to thank the council for formally adopting these best practices. The more we can do to follow them as best we can, the better job we're going to do for the citizens. So I was very happy to see it and delighted that it was a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought that it went really well, and kudos to the staff, the council, and management for pulling that off and doing such a great job doing it and getting us to be accomplished, and then we got done early. I mean, kudos to everything, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and future item agenda, council. Anybody? Seeing none? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and for upcoming dates, April 3rd, 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, the food truck takeover at Court Street in Civic Park is gonna be on every Tuesday, right? Is it Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Tuesday for lunch.
Tuesday for lunch, and then the first Saturday at night.
Correct.
Awesome. So remember, mark your calendars for that. Like I said, it's going to be April 3rd, 6th, 13th, 12th, and the 27th. And that's going to be at the Courthouse Square in the Civic Park, right where that Zumba usually happens, right?
Correct.
Perfect. And April 6th, so it's going to be two weeks out. We're going to have a little vacation in the meantime. Not really, but City Council meeting is on the 6th. April 9th is Arbor Day, and please come join us at Arbor Day. We're going to be doing the official Christmas tree. So that's going to be at 11 on April 9th, 11 a.m. at Civic Park. Last but not least, we're going to have a council meeting on the 20th, and I'm proud to say meeting adjourned at 8:01. I missed it by one.
Just by one.